Mr. President,
Senator from Kansas.
I'm here to take the opportunity to join my colleagues to speak in support of the Born Alive Abortion Survivors Protection Act. I thank Senator Sass for his continued leadership on this issue. I supported the bill when Senator Sass introduced it last Congress, and I was glad to see Senator McConnell, our leader, bring this bill to the floor for a vote. I am astonished that we're debating whether it's appropriate to leave born children to die. Today, now in the year of 2019, how can this be? Science demonstrates that human life begins at conception, and our understanding of neonatal development is increasing every day. I'm a member of the Senate Appropriations Subcommittee on Labor, Health, and Human Services. The National Institute of Health is one of my top priorities for funding. At the NIH, the National Institute of Child Health and Human Development has advanced our knowledge of pregnancy and development in the womb. Under this institute, the Neonatal Research Network has pioneered research that has led to techniques that save the lives of children in their earliest stages, when these children are at their most vulnerable. The Congressional Budget Office estimates that more than 10,000 babies are aborted each year after 20 weeks of conception, when science tells us that an unborn child can feel pain inside the womb. That number will increase as a result of recent state-level efforts to end virtually any restriction on abortion when a child could viably live outside the womb. These efforts are extreme and fall far beyond the mainstream of American opinion. This legislation does nothing to limit prenatal abortion. And while we must address that issue, the root causes of abortion and the ways to curb this heartbreaking trend, that is not the issue at hand today in this legislation. The question before us is this: when a child survives an abortion and is born, does the United States Senate believe the child can still be eliminated, or should the baby be protected and given all possible care to survive? This act requires healthcare practitioners to exercise the same degree of professional skill, care, and diligence to preserve the life and health of a child as a reasonably diligent and conscientious healthcare practitioner would render any other child born alive at the same gestational age. Any negligence in this regard is subject to a criminal and civil punishment, which at present does not exist. And should anyone think this is some made-up issue, despite the shocking comments of the Virginia governor revealing an openness to infanticide, and New York's expansion of abortion well beyond the stage of viability that makes born-alive abortion survivors more likely, we have concrete evidence this grotesque act happens. Notorious abortion provider Kermit Gosnell is serving life in prison for these very acts. Closing our eyes to what is obscene does not make it any less real. That is allegedly rare doesn't make it any less real or abhorrent. One child purposely deprived of health care and allowed to die is one too many. It is infanticide. Which brings us to the crux of this issue. We need to think carefully about the long-term impacts to the definition of health care if Congress refuses to act positively on this measure. Do the guardrails of neonatal health succumb to the belief that infants don't really count as one of us? Our society is not one of the ancient Romans or of the Aztecs. We don't sacrifice our children to please unknown God. In the progress of human history, principle of enlightenment, also known as the Age of Reason, declared self-evident truths that all humans are created equal and endowed with unalienable right to life. Though undoubtedly we have our flaws, these Enlightenment principles enshrined in our founding documents remain true to who we are as a nation and who we are as human beings. We recoil when we hear of children who are harmed in any manner. Yet today we are faced with a reality where the ability to terminate an unborn child's life when it is viable outside the womb is something that is not only tolerated, but is passionately defended by the left. That's bad enough. But to see legislation ensuring the medical care of born children gets blocked is incomprehensible. The immutable march of progress in human history has met a roadblock today in the United States Senate. The age of reason seems to have escaped us. Tonight, the Senate had an opportunity to send a message showing who we are as leaders and as a society as a whole, one that protects the weak and the voiceless, instead of one that permits their destruction. I'm saddened that the Senate failed this fundamental test. I'm eager to do more to protect the innocent life, including the unborn, but the Born Alive Abortion Survivors Act provided us an opportunity to affirm the most very basic need for health care for a vulnerable child who has already beaten the odds to survive. Let's hope we have another opportunity to give these children the chance at life that they so deserve. Mr. President, I thank you and yield the floor.